Yo, Jay here. Welcome to another episode of the Fit 2 series. Today we are at Richardson's Psychotherapeutic and Consulting Limited, where she is changing relationships, changing lives, making lives more meaningful. Her degrees say she is Edrica D. Richardson. We knew her affectionately as Dr. E. She's going to tell us what it means to be fit to love. Welcome, Dr. E.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're glad to be here. As you see, I am in full
Client mode.
Yes, full client mode. Like I'm on the couch, I'm looking at the ceiling, I'm woo-saring. So I'm ready for you to get deep into my soul, exercise my heart, exercise my brain, and make me a better person, make me more fit to love. I don't know if I can get any more fit than this to love, but I think you're the person who can get me there. So tell us what it means to be fit to love, Dr. E.
I think being fit to love is knowing yourself, knowing how to share and communicate that love with other people. I think it also means having an understanding and empathy for others, because we change over time. And so we want to make sure that we're always able to communicate that with everyone around us, so we show love to others, especially to ourselves.
Oh, awesome. Oh, you gotta love yourself first.
You have to love yourself first. And I think for a long time, we've always been told, especially as you get into relationships later on in life, that we're supposed to put family first, relationship first. But I always tell people that's an inverted pyramid. Because if you put yourself at the bottom of that list, then how are you functioning properly in those relationships? You have to love you first, so that then you can love others for that love that you have for yourself. So then you could be a good partner, then you could be a good parent. But you can't be any of those if you don't first love yourself and know who you are.
I love it. I love it. So now how do we make sure balance that fine line of loving ourselves and becoming just selfish? How do we balance that? Because oftentimes when we love ourselves too much, we just make it all about us and don't give enough to the other person we're in a relationship with. So how do we balance that?
I think we balance it by having or separating our time and understanding that every now and then you should take some time to yourself, but it shouldn't be to the point where you're isolating others from around you, that you want to incorporate them into who you are. Even let's think about friendships, right? Friendships are a healthy part of our existence, of how we socialize. So we need to be able to find some time, even when we have our relationships, when we have our kids, to spend time with our friends, because it gives us an outlet that's different. And so to avoid being selfish, make sure that you're spreading yourself in a way that's healthy for every relationship. The one with yourself, the one with those you love, the one with those who are with your career, the ones with your friends, so that you just have time for everything that builds you up.
Oh, that's good. I love that answer. Because oftentimes when we think about relationship doctors, we always think about marriage counselors.
Right.
So I like how you're saying, no, it's just, relationships matter, not just in a marriage, but relationships throughout the different aspect of our lives. So you touch on the friendship, you touch on the parents, child situation. What other relationships that oftentimes we don't consider that we need to make sure we're having a positive effect on our lives?
Of course, the relationship with where we came from. So I think that's one of the biggest relationships we should always explore. That means your history of growing up and how that has affected you. Not necessarily from what your parents may have done to you, but the things along the way that may have kind of built you into who you are. The things that create these, what we call emotional triggers. Those points that if someone does something to you from the workplace, and you're like, well, this person did it, it may have come from something that have happened along your way growing up, like a school relationship, right? Let's say that you were a person who might have had some bullying in school, and then you go to a workplace, and then your boss is very very forceful and heavy, and it triggers that memory of what it felt like in school. And so we have to understand that. because we have relationships with everything. We have relationships with food. We know people have unhealthy eating habits or lifestyles. We have relationships with how we take care of our minds, how we take care of our bodies, how we take care, and how we perform at work. So everything in life is a relationship. The question is, how are you showing up in those relationships, as well as how are you making sure that you're invested in those relationships? Because it takes a two-way street.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, I like where you went with that. So now tell us about your fitness journey.
Ooh, the interesting part is I don't think my fitness journey started until I got to know who I was. So into young adulthood, because I was not that athletic kid. I'm sure if any of my high school friends would see this, they'd be like, oh, she was the girl who just stand up in physical education. But I got to a place in my early 20s where I said I wanted to have the best body and be in the healthiest position in my life. And so I started working out. I first started with CrossFit, and I got a love for weights. And I think then that transitioned to just doing group fitness classes. And so I enjoy going to your classes when you have them. And it just reminded me that if I'm going to have a healthy mind, I must also have a healthy body. And so they all go hand in hand.
Yes, yes, yes. You heard here from the doc. Healthy mind, healthy body, hand in hand, yin and yang. Let's make it happen. Doc, we're talking about love now. What is love? What is love?
Love is that feeling of belongingness, togetherness, that connection you get, that safety sense from being with another person. And so as humans, when you think of a newborn, the first thing we do when newborns come out is we do what they call Kangaroo Care, right? They come out and they initially put them straight on the mothers. And that's because it reminds them of what it feels like when they were in the womb. And that is their first idea of love, right? They're feeling connected. And as we get older, it evolves to different levels of love connection and through those intimate relationships. So being loved is that feeling of just connection and safety that goes throughout your life.
Okay, it's connection and safety. That's why it's so hard in relationships when the trust is broken. So the connection is. I can see this couch. Oh my God. Oh, this couch is doing it. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Doc, you're good at what you do. You're good at what you do. So the love language.
Yes.
It's
huge.
Oh, so you believe it? Because my question.
I can pull the book right out of the cupboard for you, and it's a book I recommend for all of my couples, anyone who's in a relationship, anyone who's in any type of relationship, just not an intimate one. Because love languages, they also have it for kids, and they also have it for people who are single. Because what it communicates is the idea that you have to learn to love me the way I know how to be loved, and then I have to communicate with you what that is, so that we don't speak different languages. And it happens so often in all relationships. So let's use a parent-child one, for instance, because we always like to use the adult relationship. So Love Languages by Gary Chapman was the idea that if we're in a relationship together and I speak English, you speak French, we're going to have some miscommunication.
Correct.
We want to be in this relationship together, but we can't be in this relationship successfully because there's going to be some language variations, right? Words aren't going to mean the same thing. So with love languages, when we look at intimate relationships, any kind of intimate relationship, if you're doing things for me the way that you want to be loved, then that's for you. It's not for me. If you want to do it for me, you have to learn how I like to be loved in order to do it. And so with a parent-child relationship, if you always buy me gifts because you think I'm a child who, right now, the electronic craze, right? Every kid wants the newest, latest electronic, then that's good for you doing it for me. But if I want you to spend time with me, that quality time, then I'm not really feeling loved. You can buy me all the gifts in the world, but I still feel empty because you're not spending that time with me, maybe even playing the game you bought.
Oh.
So that translates from that relationship also to the adult relationships. And so we first have to understand what our love language is and then communicate with our partners so we can have a successful relationship.
Throughout this conversation, you've been talking about communication. Oftentimes, if that is the basis for us getting to a certain point, right? We have a hard time, A, communicating, and B, communicating effectively.
Yes.
So how do we get to that first step? Because oftentimes I know what you did to make me feel this way. Or I know what I want, but I just don't know how to say it. I know to say, I don't want that. Instead of saying, this is what I want. So how do we get there? How do we get to that point to say, you know what, this is how I need to express myself so you can understand where I'm coming from?
That's the key word there, understanding. I think for us, we have been told that we should be good at communicating, but no one has ever taught us how to communicate. And to make communication effective, a few things must happen. You must have two willing parties who are willing to listen first, and I mean actively listen, which means that I'm listening to be curious about what you're saying. I'm not listening to defend my position. That's a huge thing.
Rewind. Come back again. Select this. Boop, boop, boop. Say that again.
So you have to listen in order to actively hear and be curious about what I'm saying, not to defend your position. And once you first learn that, that's one of the first active skills in effective communication. I have to be willing and curious about what you're saying and why you're saying it. And if I'm doing that, how can I defend? You can't defend and listen good at the same time. You cannot do it. And after you do that, then I want to understand. Because first, I have to listen actively, then I can understand, which gives me empathy, so that I then can respond to you in a way that is not defensive, but a place that we both can grow.
Oh, man, Doc. Oh, Doc. Feel it in my soul. Feel it in my soul. Now, do you recall the types of love languages?
Yes.
Go ahead.
There are 5 love languages. There is quality time. There is acts of service.
So,
physical touch.
So let's slow it down. Quality time. Okay.
I'll go through all
I
of
want
them.
you to be around. Okay.
No, I want focused attention. So quality time is focused attention time. So when you go on a date with your partner, that is you and them time. There's no phones. There is, right. You're actually going to spend time with that person, having fun, getting to know them all over again. You should never stop dating your spouse. Never.
Okay. Noted.
Then we have acts of service.
Thanks.
No, that's not things. No,
that's not okay.
Acts of service, think about it as, what can you do to alleviate the pressure of your spouse and make their days easier?
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, I am very much a tea drinker in the morning. So you get up in the morning and you make sure the hot water's on before I start my day. So you're helping out alleviate something that I would normally do. So if your job is to take out the trash, I take it out for you because I see that, I was just doing one for the team. It's a team.
Yes.
Then we have words of affirmation. I'm speaking supportive, loving language into you, telling you how much I appreciate you, or telling you how to do a good job on your next presentation. Those are words of affirmation. I'm affirming who you are. You have gifts. That's thanks.
Okay, thanks.
And so the gifts would be doing those little gestures that make me know that you think about me and give me something physical usually in it. If that's writing a little love note, if that's buying my favorite candy or chocolate bar, or if that is just getting that next latest thing that I've been hinting that I wanted. And then we have physical touch. And physical touch doesn't always have to be sexual. It could just be holding hands or sitting next to me or rubbing. You like good head rub, don't you? Yeah. So those are the things that are physical touch. So love languages says, once you figure out what yours is, then communicate that with your partner. But most of us expect our partners to know what it is.
Yeah.
And unless we get telepathic, how will we know?
How would we?
How? So we got to communicate that. This is where the communication comes in. And provide your partner with examples. I think it's very important that couples make sure that you just don't assume that somebody's going to know what it is. You could be with somebody for 10 years and they're changing every day in those 10 years. So ask, be curious. That's the curiosity part of it.
Now, here's the thing. We all, as human beings, we evolve. We should be evolving as we get new information and over time and understanding of things. So here's the challenge. If I met Dr. E and Dr. E love language was gifts.
Yes.
But she's evolved now to affirmation.
Yeah.
And she doesn't express that. You see what I mean? That's where the challenge is, because you communicated it initially,
right?
And then so I was on that gift trend, And now you move to affirmation. And maybe you said it in passing, but I didn't catch it yet. So now there's a disconnect, and that's where the friction comes in, because you already clearly expressed it.
Right, yeah.
You know, and you know you expressed it, and you know I said yes, I understood. But it was still, because I was so accustomed to
What it
was.
The old habit, right?
So how do we continue those conversations and not get frustrated? Be like, hey, you're not paying attention.
That's a big one. So one of the things I tell couples that they should always put on their list of things to do is what I call relationship communication time, where it's a time that they sit down, preferably at least once every 2 weeks, and talk about, I call it the business of the relationship, not the fun part. The dating part, like date nights, that's for the fun part. Relationship communication time is that you sit down and you talk about those changes that might have happened. And what I realize is that we'll go through normal days and we won't ask. Some people don't communicate through those days. Everyone has a role. You know what you're going to do today.
Right.
Maybe your job is to pick up the kids. Your job is to get the lunches ready. And my job is to make sure the bills are paid and the kids are ready. And we're not communicating about those little things that have happened. And so if we set some time apart, just an hour, a total hour, not 2 hours, 1 hour, we sit and we talk about some of the things that are going on, then we have an opportunity to share, because we can miss them. The days happen, we get lost in the days. But if you have that communication time, you'll be able to say, hey, you're listening to me, and I'm going to say to you, I really want you to know that we used to do it this way before, but I no longer like peanut butter and jelly. I just like jelly on my sandwiches. And that's important for me to tell you, and I'll remind you when I see you doing it, so that it becomes a new habit for you. But we have to sit down and communicate about that. And if we don't make time to do it, the world is so busy, when is it going to happen? So it's very important for couples to figure out when is going to be that hour that they're going to reinvest into the business of everything.
I like what you did just there. But here's my challenge to you.
Okay.
I liked you when you like peanut butter and jelly.
Ah.
I don't know if I like just the peanut butter person. So how do we mesh those things? Where does the balance come there? Because yes, you're evolving as a human being.
Right.
But the person I fell in love with was peanut butter and jelly gal. Now you throw the jelly aside. No, but I like both. I like you, peanut butter and jelly. I'm not a big fan of just peanut butter. So now what happens there? Because you're evolving, you're growing.
Right.
And
you're not.
And see, the perception could be that this person is not.
Right.
But that is the person who they love. So are you suggesting that if I do not, quote unquote, evolve to remove the jelly, that I'm not evolving as the same rate as the person? Or are we just now in a state? Because sometimes we get these relationships, we all at different places. Sometimes we start young and we get older, or we just get new information later in life. So now how do we balance that where, you know what? I am seeing things differently than you. And I am going in this direction, and you want to stay on the same path, but we still love each other.
See, this is why the communication part is so vital to relationships, that you communicate those changes and transitions. But more importantly, the first question you should ask yourself, if that is happening for you as a unit, that this person is changing and I still like that old version, is first, do the mirror. Why am I not evolving, or how have I not evolved over this relationship time? Or have I? And have I communicated that with my person? And if the answer to that is in the 10 years or 20 years you haven't evolved at all, then the issue isn't the relationship, it's you. Then the issue is, how are you not changing and growing over time? Relationships should be a place of growth. So if your relationship isn't pushing you to be the better and best version of yourself, then it may be you who's stuck in the past. And so as the relationship evolves, both parties should be evolving too. And if I change and now I only like jelly, and is the question more that I'm evolving too fast for you, or you're missing things because you're still stuck in the old ways? Then you really have to start asking yourself some questions about, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I need to go and figure out or what's happening with me, so that then I can be a better partner. Because you should be growing.
Okay. But I might not see that as growth.
What do you see it as?
I don't know. What I'm saying is, but I just say you changing, but you go and hang with these new set of people, and all of a sudden you want this thing and we always peanut butter and jelly. So I do this as you see.
I think it's that people get stuck in old patterns, right?
Yes, because it's easy.
It's easy.
Yes.
Change is the most uncomfortable thing, but change is always happening. And if we're not changing as units, then we're really not growing. And if we're not growing, I don't think we're being the best versions of ourselves. And that's doing a disservice to us and a disservice to humanity, because we should be getting better every day. And your partner should be bringing out the best version of that, supporting that.
Even though sometimes it may be painful to bring it out. So.
It is,
okay.
yeah.
Well, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Yes.
Yes, the day of love and blah, 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 blah. Which women think is for them. Now.
Oh, no, I believe it's for both people.
Because Valentine's Day for lovers, not women.
Yeah, don't you want your little gift? You tingsy too, right?
Yeah, whatever. Affirmation tingsy, all that in one. With a love language me, you know? So, tell us about your ideal Valentine's Day date.
Ooh.
Yours.
Wow.
You get on the couch and let me sit up.
Wow. I think it... I mean, it's so many. Ideally, it would be to get on a plane and go somewhere for probably a little escape getaway. But since we're in a pandemic, I think I would be okay with just having like a quiet dinner at home. Maybe getting somebody to come in and cook so we could really just enjoy each other's time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you could don't limit yourself. You could get the private jet.
Well, hey, I'm trying to speak it into existence. So, yeah, hopefully.
Tell us about your worst Valentine's Day experience.
Ooh, I think the worst one was that the person forgot that it was Valentine's Day. And so there wasn't any plans, and that they just acted like it was a normal, regular day. And so I had left notes and stuff, and they just thought it was like...
Oh, it's just so nice. Oh, I'm the best girl ever.
Right. And then I'm like, yes, so I think we got a problem. This is it. Like, we're miscommunicating here somehow. And so, yeah, I think that would have been the worst.
Wow, okay. They didn't remember it was Valentine's. But, okay, but, so how did you remind them on the whole day went? Or did you freak yourself out and be like, hey...
No, I think at that point I probably would have been a little like attitudinal, I would call it. And I said, so how did you forget? What happened? Like, and so then we had the conversation like, don't let this happen again.
Right.
Yeah, because it's important.
It's important to me.
It's important.
But I mean, when you said like that, I would never forget it. He doesn't even forget it in his other relationships now. The way you said, don't let this happen again, my brother.
Right. And sometimes we need to be checked because we can forget things. Like, I've had couples who come in and like, oh, my spouse forgot our anniversary or birthday. And it was because you get so busy, caught up in life. And we have to remember that life it keeps happening. We must make sure that the people in our lives are always prioritized. So set those little reminders in your phone. Okay. It's the easiest thing that can happen.
But we don't want to set it because we say we want to remember it. Like, we don't want, But the strength aspect is knowing when you need a resource. And a resource is using your phone. Okay. Okay. Man. I love it. The resource is using your phone.
Yeah.
Relationships. Why do you think people are reluctant to get help in relationships?
Yeah.
Is it because, it should happen easy? It should be automatic? I don't need no one in my business. And then people tell
all of those.
Okay.
So it is the fact that it should be easy, right? Just like we're taught we should be able to communicate. So we assume that we should be able to do relationships. But when have we really ever been taught how to have good, not only good, but healthy relationships? We haven't. Most of us have our first experience at relationships in our 20s, right? And at that point, we're young adults. We're trying to figure out who we are, and then we're trying to date people at the same time. And so we have to go through trial and error. And then some of us end up marrying those initial relationships, and it doesn't give us time to evolve, right? And then we get to this place, and then we eventually evolve. And it can be back to that situation. Well, you started out liking peanut butter and jelly. What happened over this decade?
Right.
Well, because you changed and you were growing. And so we have to learn, one, how to have relationships. And then two, I think people are reluctant to get help is because we should be able to fix this by ourselves. We don't want nobody in our business. But I think what's resourceful is knowing that when we've tried and exhausted everything we know how to do, and then we go to somebody else who is a professional who has a non-judgmental, just wanting to help and say, we've tried all these things. Do you have any other ideas? And that's really what it is. It's now using it as a resource, a partnership to help you evolve. Because the whole point of like relationship therapy is to make sure that you become a better version of yourself. And so it's nobody wants to be in anybody's business. We want to just help you be a better version.
Okay. So in order for people who want to be helped to be a better version of self, to have better and healthy relationships, how can people reach out to you?
Sure. They can, the easiest way is probably to go to my website. It's www.rpc-LTD.com. It's just rpc-ltd.com. Or they can give me a call at 425-0718.
Okay, awesome. For men,
Yes.
if you had one piece of advice to give to men in relationship, one, what would that be?
You don't always have to fix it. Sometimes you just have to listen.
Yeah?
Yes.
No, let me get back on the couch. Let me slouch on the... Now, Dr. E,
Yes.
you see, you're challenging some norms now. Because as men, when we hear a problem
You want to fix it?
and we assume you telling us it to fix it.
No.
So you saying we must hear this and be like, okay, babe.
No. What I'm saying is when you hear it, you say, Hun, do you want me to tell you what I think, or do you want some help with this, or you just want me to listen? Because a lot of times she just wants you to listen.
But isn't that the girlfriend thing?
Sometimes, but if you're going to be friends with your spouse, then you're also a friend, and I want to share some of those things with you.
Okay.
And sometimes that is just, I just want you to be that person.
Just to listen.
Just to listen.
Don't always have to fix it, man.
You don't always have to fix it. You just sometimes simply have to listen.
Okay. Well, what's your best advice, single advice you'll give to females?
He does not read minds. He does not read minds. And I'm saying that because women have this idea that somehow when you get in a relationship, and especially when you've been in it for a little while, well, you should know what I want. Like when you go order the food, you should know what I want. No. Just tell him. Your partnership, make it easy on him. Just say, last time I had this, can you get this again for me? Or don't assume that he's just noticing all of these things. Tell him these changes so that he doesn't have to play the guessing game. Because you're in a partnership and partners help one another.
Speaking of food, why do y'all always want to eat off our plate? You had an opportunity to order your food, I order my food.
Yours tastes better.
So what's up with that, man?
I think it's an endearing thing, we think, but for you guys it's so annoying.
Yeah, this portion is right for me. You know?
Let me tell men this. If you go and she says she doesn't want anything, just double the order. She's lying.
She's lying.
She's lying.
Okay,
She wants something.
Okay. Well, Dr. E, we had an awesome time here today. Is there anything else you'd like to leave with our audience before we go?
I just want to tell everybody that we all need a little help sometimes. So make sure when in doubt and you've tried everything to just reach out and get some support. It's all just supportive help.
Support. Not getting in your business.
Just support.
Not nosy.
No.
And professional help. I thought I was saying, but we need professional. Oftentimes we say we go to this person or that person, or even, let's get a little bit of problems here. Even our pastors and everyone, he was trained in the word of the Lord. Yeah, the Bible, but that doesn't mean he got relationship training.
Right.
You know what I mean? So sometimes we have to go to specialists. I don't go to the cook when I want to fix my car.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we all have our places to help you to grow spiritually, mentally, and
to get us fit. And so we have to make sure we go to the person that's the right fit for that time. So yes, please make sure you go to a trained professional and ask them questions. You can ask them questions. You should be able to in your initial consultation about their background of their training, what do they specialize in, so that you understand that they are the right fit for your life at that point.
Awesome. Right. Ask these questions.
And
And if you walk into an office and you see like 10,000 degrees, like I saw, this is the right place. Is there any more? I
think I've done them all.
All right. So once again, man, we had an awesome time. I thank you for giving us your time today to share these words of advice. I think we learned a lot. better relationships are going to come out of this.
Yes, because
And
we're all fit to love.
all fit to love. We can't end any better than that. Thank you, you guys. Tune in next time for the next exciting episode of the Fit 2 series. Jay out.